Welcome traders. Here we are on a gold analysis, looking at a weekly breakdown here on the gold charts from pips to pips array. We're looking at how gold might move going into the new week based on price action from the last week. I haven't gone on to the monthly time frame just because we know that the candles are super bullish and has been since March last year. So we know pretty much that's just flying to the moon. What we will see if you looked at it is that at the minute it's bearish, but keep in mind we've only had 1 week. We're on day 6 of the month, so there's a lot more price action and information to come into that candle before you can really make any decisions onto which way that's heading. Looking at the weekly time frame here, we can see obviously that gold has made a resistance now. It has made a resistance because that candle has closed. Okay, and the other thing we can point out on the weekly time frame is that down here we have a support. Okay, not a lot more we can say about that apart from the fact that once again you can see that it's bullish. We've had a good push up and price needed to reject at some point, try and get some liquidity, get some orders potentially. But yeah, let's go down to the daily time frame and see what information we have there. We can readjust this resistance now to the top there, which obviously is the all-time high. It's as high as gold's been, but now we can start to see that there is some structure on this time frame. If we have a look here, that gold did touch into almost a support area towards the end of last week. We've got a little bit of sort of information here, but not a great candle. And then obviously you've got the next couple of supports down here. Obviously we're going to mark them all off on this time frame, even this small little bit of indifference there, because when we start to go down to the smaller time frames, those will give us more data and information. I'm not going to go any further because I don't believe at this time there's any need, as we've got these levels to focus on and potentially the first couple of days if price continues to push down. But effectively these could be the levels where price then decides to push back up. Let's move now on to the 4-hour time frame. Let's readjust our chart here so it can look a little bit cleaner. It doesn't look very great there. The candles all over the place. There we go. Okay, so once again we can sort of see that we've got obviously that resistance there that we marked out. Funny enough, that was the start of the weekly candle where it pushed up, and we're going to just mark some other zones out now. We've got resistance there. We've got this. I'm going to readjust this because obviously whenever we're marking zones, I always mark zones that are relevant. So at the minute, what has happened closest to where we are now is the most relevant. So this here is definitely a relevant support. Now I would also class that that level there is of interest, but that zone's probably quite tight, and I would say that this is potentially a level where in between this level here and that level there, you might not want to be trading because it's going to be very tricky for you to get clean opportunities to take any setups. We've also got a little level there, so let's mark that up as well. As we see, as price has been moving of recent, we've had quite a lot of cagey price action. Last week was classic for that. It was tough, where we were getting ranges and then price would push up or push down as it happened. So we need to mark these out, but obviously on the smaller time frames we need to look for price action to see if we can get any cleaner setups. As you can see here, we've got zone, 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 zone. There's a nice little bit of a clean range here. That's a messy range, bit of a clean range there. So it's really tough. At the minute, the best range we can see is the one that was current, which is just here. Okay, so let's break that down now onto the hourly time frame and see if there's more data. Okay, this is interesting. So we'll readjust that support there. We'll readjust that resistance there as well. The top one, I'm going to leave the top one there just because you've got these candles that are all sort of bouncing around a bit. So as much as that's the top, really, I mean, if anything, let's pull it down slightly. It gives a bit of a better reflection. Always remember rejection wicks like that. So if we break up into that zone, it's going to be messy. But for me at the minute, based on the fact that the weekly candle closed bearish, I'm feeling that based on what we can see now on the hourly time frame, is that we want to be really careful, because I think what we're more than likely going to see now is here, if I just get the drawing tools up and the arrow, what we've got every chance of doing is from open is for market to push up into this level here, potentially again rejecting off of that resistance for a third time, but that's going to create our upper wick on the weekly time frame. We've got a crossover here on the SMAs, okay, which is telling us that there's potentially some bearish sentiment. Once again, we're not saying that gold is turning bearish and all of a sudden we're in sells and it's going to come out the sky. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that session trends, and especially at the start of the week, with it being a bearish weekly candle, you could expect that price is going to push up. The other reason I'd say that is we've created a support here, okay. There was a minor resistance on the hourly, and we're sort of looking, we've created a nice bit of a bullish pattern there, okay. So I'm just feeling that what could happen is, as I say, price is going to push up to create the upper wick on the weekly, and then what you'd expect is to see price pushing down, okay. If it breaks its lows, then there's a good chance that price will continue down, pushing into these lower zones, okay. But you always need to keep at the back of your mind, gold is bullish. Overall, on the bigger time frame, gold's bullish. We know that, as I say, from last year, it's been pushing. So be very careful, especially as you start to come in to these lower levels that don't have masses and masses of range. We're talking about clean range. This here is a nice clean range. Price has moved down, candles are pretty clean, especially on the hourly, which means that we've got a better chance of price pushing back through there because we've not got resistances to contend with. These are all support levels that price has got to break through to get down. Now, when you get tight action, tight price action, tight zones like this, my recommendation would always be, what I'd be looking for, is for price to print some candles that give us some better action. So for instance, we might potentially wait, let's just clear this off a minute now. What we'd probably be looking for, okay, we've talked about the first move where we're hoping that that we could get a push up to create the top wick of the weekly candle. Then we're hoping for a push down. Now, if this pushes down and breaks these levels and gives us a clean move, once this moves back up, okay, you've got a clean candle range to move through. These resistance levels wouldn't count because they're to the left. You want to keep them in mind because there's no reason to say price won't reject off of them, but your clean action here is what you'd be looking at, and break that down. Start to look at the 15 and 5 minute to see if there are any minor resistance levels that you need to be careful of. But what you're looking for is for price then to create nice clean moves for it to move down through. Yeah, if you start to get really choppy price action, it's better to keep clear. What we're looking for is price to print candles that are clean, that gives us the better opportunity to not get caught up in messy, congested price action. Okay, so as I say, that's sort of basically the outlook at the minute. We will go down to the 30 minute. Just because that could give us a bit more data. Okay, and this is what I'm saying about go down to the smaller time frames because you might see some better price action. Okay, and this is going to help us out here. I class that as a really nice resistance in some respects because you've also almost got this small little range here that price bounced around in. Okay, sort of bounced around there. We've then pushed up to get liquidity. We've broke below it, and that there I would class as a last kiss retest before price continued back down. So the reason that this is a strong level of resistance is that first of all it bounced off of it for a support, then once it broke it, it retested before leaving. Okay, so that's a stronger level because you've got the two kisses back to back. Okay, that's just something going on to support and resistance, and maybe I'll do a video on that in the future. But going back to my point here with the start of the weekly candle, I believe based on price action things can change and you have to be fluid as a trader. If things start to go in a different direction, then we'll reassess our analysis and we'll go again. But based on what we can see, weekly time frame is bearish. We expect an upper wick to be created before that candle continue on its journey down. So based on that, I'm hoping or thinking that the start of the week is potentially going to work its way up towards this resistance here where we left a level and then retested it before potentially we push down. Now, where will price go? Nobody knows. Price could come down, reject and continue bullish. That's where we need to reassess. But I think what we need to base it on is price action. If you were looking at the 30 minute, the hourly, the smaller time frames, and we had a setup like we've seen, let me just go back to the weekly time frame, yeah, where we'd had a push up and then a resistance formed, we would be expecting at some point price to push down slightly to at least retest or to print another candle maybe before it continued up. That's what we'd expect on the smaller time frames, and that's what price does. Okay, it always works in waves. whether it's on the higher time frames, smaller time frames, price action is price action. And just what you look for on the lower time frames, you can almost expect to the higher time frames. Okay, so based on that, sorry, like I say, I'm going to be potentially expecting price to push up to create a top wick and then push back down. Once again, let's look for clean moves. But the key thing here is to base our analysis on what we can see. If price starts to print differently, then we need to react to that. But as I say, guys, let's focus on the key things here, and that is that we've got a weekly bearish candle. We've come down and created a nice clean range. We've got a lovely support there. We expect a top wick to be created, so for potentially price is going to push up before pushing down. What goes on into the rest of the week, nobody knows. But let's just keep price action in mind with whatever we're doing. Just quickly to finish up on this video, just going to pull in, if I can, apologies, pull in the weekly forecast for the news. The start of the week is pretty basic, straightforward. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we've got no high impact news. Towards the end of the week, guys, that's where you want to be a little bit wary. And once again, we're looking at the NY open times, 1:30 UK time. We've got the CPI core news that's going to happen on the Thursday. And then if we have a look at the Friday, we've got, again, CPI news. So they're going to give us some volatile sessions. We want to be potentially wary of not trading those, but also we could see, once prices started to be moved by news, there could be some clean setups following after that. There is other news I've just forgotten about, and that will be on the Wednesday night. Yep, 7 o'clock. This is UK time, remember. We've got the FOMC meetings. Now, in the past, they do create a lot of volatility. With Donald Trump, I would expect that to be the case. Sort of back of last year, I was expecting some really, really big pushes on this, and it never come. So it's a bit of a hit and miss, but be wary nonetheless. 7 o'clock. Remember, you're also going into sort of the end of the trading session where we get that break before the new daily candle starts. So it can be a bit of a spicy time to trade, but just be aware of it. See how you get on. And for me, that's a bit of a wrap, really. That's our weekly breakdown. Appreciate it's probably gone on a little bit. Hopefully there's some little gems there for you to take from it. But as I say, bottom line is price action wins, so keep an eye on that, and trade what you see, don't trade what you think. That's the key thing. Just because we're saying bearish weekly candle, we're expecting a top wick and then sells potentially before we start to reassess where news is going to go. If that's not printing on the candles, or we're seeing that there are supports and other things that might happen here, don't just take sells willy-nilly. Make sure that you base it on price action. Make sure the candles are making sense. Anyway, that's enough for me. All the best. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And we'll see you in the new week for some, hopefully, clean, happy trading. Let's catch those pips.